morning. Bases dropped. It's another round of soccer down here over at SDH. Jon here, Jarrett there, and I think it's safe to say that we're still kind of recovering from the multiple aspects of the weekend. And I was going to kind of just go ahead and let that be the opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And you can also follow along at Kickoff Coffee on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And for those watching on Twitch, let me turn. There we go. There's your QR code for Kickoff Coffee. Once again, use the code SoccerDownHere15. Get 15% off your purchase when it comes to everything at Kickoff Coffee. And then they, in turn, take 10% of the proceeds, invest in the youth game. Very, very cool stuff with our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Let's see. Today we'll go over Atlanta United and DC United, the Battle of the Uniteds. And anything else on your mind? We'll probably end up talking a little bit around the league with Major League Soccer after Jarrett leaves us at the top of the hour. I've got a promo to read, and then we'll go into all the other news of the day to get you ready for your viewing and anything else that is going on. But safe to say that I think Jarrett probably beat all of us when it came to having the longest weekend of any individual out there in the world, on this or any other planet. And first and foremost, Jarrett, I just want to say this. The fact that the drums, the drum lines and all of the percussionists that were at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Sunday, please find a way to keep them coming in some manner, way, shape, or form for the remaining home matches of the regular season. Good morning.
Good morning, and yeah, that would be awesome. It was a uniquely Atlanta thing. Not that Atlanta is the only place that does drum lines, but it really fit, and it was a cool effect to see, especially while at the same time, well, not at the same time, but a day earlier, you had the MEAC SWAC Challenge over at Georgia State, where you had Alabama State and Howard playing, and then a day later you're able to line up some drum lines to come have a good old time and bring a really fun energy to Atlanta United. It was sad I missed that and wasn't able to attend it in person. Seemed like it was a really good time and definitely something that they can build on going forward of, hey, this worked. Let's just do that more often.
Let's see. So when did you officially get home? Because
2 a.m.
One of the other
the game was supposed to end at 10 p.m. I got home at 2 a.m. Yeah, and that was because they canceled the game with 2 minutes left because it wasn't going to stop thundering until 3 a.m.
No, and for those that know Jarrett has a lot of other lives, and one of them was down at. Actually, you had multiple lives down at Petty Field at Georgia State.
And yeah. Because I did Georgia State soccer last night because somebody was sick and couldn't do it. I don't blame them because Saturday was a long day for everybody involved. We did the MEAC SWAC Challenge Saturday. It was supposed to be a 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock game, maybe 10:30 because it's ESPN carrying it. You know how they like to drag things out. Mm-hmm. They didn't cancel it till like 1:30 in the morning because of the storms that were rolling through. Then we did Georgia State soccer Sunday. It was a very busy weekend. I slept most of Sunday, and yeah, Bam, I got you because I woke up long enough Sunday morning to see that Celtic had a 4-0 lead on Dundee and went back to bed. I'm like, cool, this is settled. I woke back up and saw it was 9-0. I'm like, oh, they're trying to get Jack Ross fired. That's what's up.
Do we know Jack Ross is still employed, by the way?
I don't know if he is. I would not blame one bit if the fans there are irate and like at the gates. Because yeah, man, y'all lost 9-0. And Celtics gonna do that to some people, but not 9-0 bad. Jesus. And then, I actually had to I kind of delaying my prep work for Georgia State last night, sitting on the booth with my phone open, watching the end of the Atlanta United game, just man, get this across the line. I don't care how you do it, because look, ugly wins better than a pretty loss or a pretty draw, or better than an ugly draw or an ugly loss. Ugly win is the second best result you can have behind a pretty win. And you get it across the line however you can. Look, the first goal you give up is a great bit of technique where, he brings it down off the chest, and then I can't tell if it hit Sosa's shoulder or not, but dude bent that beautifully to the far post, and Rocco doesn't get to it. And then the second one's just bad defending. Like, tale as old as time this year. Poor defending, miscommunication. I don't know if Franco expected Rocco to come out to a ball that close, but, he just lets Kamara run off his shoulder, and I don't know whose fault it's supposed to be. I don't know whose responsibility that was, but it's bad defending. Thankfully, your offense bailed you out from those mistakes.
Your center backs bailed you out.
Yes, that too.
Alan Franco, first goal ever in an Atlanta United jersey. And Juanjo Purata again goes airborne, and just awful defending from DC United on the Joseph header that tied it at 2. And I think it was who was it? It was Andy Nahar was a part of it, and I think Birnbaum on the Joseph goal, and then and Juanjo Purata just goes airborne again. But to have your center backs responsible for 2 of your 3 goals on the day, that's pretty strong going forward.
Yeah, Juanjo Purata has added a different element to this team for sure. If for no other reason, we've already talked about that your ability to win aerial duels has improved with Juanjo Purata in the team. But now he's got 3 goals on the year. Now you have, you've had guys who can win that ball. You've had Jeff Larentowicz was, I will still argue, somehow underrated in the air. He was great at winning the first ball at that 6th position. But Juanjo Purata is good at it as well, but he is a legitimate weapon in front of goal, whether be it on set pieces or recycled set pieces. Now he's got 3 goals, and it adds a different element for this team that they generate so many corner kicks. I believe Atlanta leads the league in corners generated. And now you have more of a threat on those set pieces with a guy like him. Joseph can pull that out. He's not a lighthouse of a towering forward. Never really has been. He just gets great positioning, and in his prime was able to jump out of the building. Juanjo Purata is a different animal, and last few games this team looks a lot more dangerous in those moments.
Oh, okay. I need to give Will credit here. On the Twitch pitch early this morning, early on a Monday, I needed a one-liner like this. Will, can we start calling Purata Air Force One?
Yes, we may.
That's +1 for the morning.
Yes, we can.
Oh,
but yes, to Shiva's point, yeah, DC's defense is an abomination.
Yeah,
Atlanta was sloppy. That first goal is a moment of brilliance, and what got me mad about the first goal was you cleared the first set piece, then you cleared the recycled ball, and it was the third one that goes. You've done the job up to that point, and then you get beat by a guy who brings it down with his chest and then hits a curling shot into the corner. Yeah, you want to close him down, but you've already cleared 2 of them away. And if you want to nitpick, it's that when you're a center back in that moment, instead of heading it back to the middle away, try and head it more at an angle so it can't be pulled down like that. Kind of push it away from goal, but off to the side as opposed to straight back out. And the second goal is just sloppy. It's bad defensive movement where you got a guy wide open on the right-hand side, then everybody's scrambling, then you get the ball played back to an early cross to, Franco falling asleep or miscommunicating with Rocco. The second goal is, for me, much worse than the first goal, and it's much more frustrating. But again, yeah, you're able to crawl it back, and that's been the thing this year with this team is they've crawled back. They've rescued stuff.
No quit.
They haven't quit. They've had to fight back. But I will say this about him, and it's the same thing I've said about what Austin has done at times, which we'll get into Austin later, because Austin made a statement. It's similar to what Orlando's done in the past. Yeah, those games are wild. They can kind of give you a boost with those crazy results, but it's not a healthy way to live.
No.
And Atlanta would be much better served to lock things down more defensively. That hasn't been their MO all year, but be much better served if they were able to lock things down defensively and not have to rescue things late. It's such a rough way to live. Austin has done it this year. Orlando's done it in years past. And the sustainability on it is really hard as opposed to just getting out in front and sitting on a game.
No, you're absolutely right on there. And while Jarrett goes back to the port of his office where he can have a good signal, let me get into some of the Sofa Score numbers really quickly here. Thiago Almada wrapped with an 8, and in his 90 minutes, 81% passing, 51 of 63 on 83 touches, 1 of 6 had 1 cross, and then he had 6 of 8 on long balls yesterday. 5 of 8 on his ground duels, 2 for 2 on the dribble, and he had 2 tackles along the way. And I know that a lot of you have been talking about Thiago and Santi Sosa, Luis Aruju, Brooks Lennon, and where Brooks Lennon is concerned, Jarrett, Brooks Lennon getting a lot of love this morning. And, it was a point that was, made after the match. When you're getting folks like Brooks Lennon and Andrew Gutman back as a part of your lineup, you're seeing what this group can be for Atlanta United before you jump in. Brooks played the full 90, 57 touches, 83% passing on 30 of 36, 3 crosses, 3 long balls, 2 big chances created, won all of his ground duels, and he also was fouled 3 times and had 1 clearance on the day. So Brooks Lennon, and what everyone was anticipating with him on the right-hand side, Brooks Lennon looks like he's back at full song.
That's good to see. You needed, I think, some more. You needed some more explosiveness there, and Aiden McFadden gives you a lot of fight on that right-hand side. It's not as polished of the end product as far as putting the ball into the box like Brooks has done in the past. And I think if nothing else, you want some frustration with it personally. It's that you saw what you could have had with Brooks and a healthy Joseph Martinez.
Yep.
Going into 2020.
Yep.
You saw that glimpse of that moment where he gets into the end line, picks his head up, finds Joseph, and just floats that little backspin cross into Joseph's head. And you kind of get that idea of, man, could have had that. If you don't have the 2020 injury, maybe it's, Brooks Lennon racking up close to double-digit assists, if not more, with a healthy and prime Joseph Martinez versus, Joseph still coming back from knee injuries. And credit to Brooks Lennon, though. We've seen him do this at times. He did this actually one game in 2020. I think it was the game in D.C. where they basically dismantled D.C. up there at Audi Field, where he went off one. I think he had like a goal, like 2 assists and a goal in that game or something like that. It was insane. Mm-hmm. You see him pull it out of his back pocket, and you get in this mindset of, okay, cool, this is something he can create, and this is something that can be a lot of fun. So hopefully you're able to build on it. I was hoping we'd get an update on Emerson Hyndman.
Yeah.
For him to be back in the fold as well, because I want to see how Emerson fits into this. Full credit to Amar Sejdic.
Yes.
Who has stepped into that role with Sosa and formed a really solid midfield. And at this point, because of what you paid to get Amar Sejdic, everything you get from him is icing on the cake because of the cost. Because of what he costs you and what he costs you in salary. It's a great pickup. He has been fantastic when called upon in these situations. I cannot say enough about the work Amar Sejdic has done. It's been up and down this year at times. And look, that's fine. It's been a chaotic season, but I've really been impressed with what he was able to bring to the table. And getting Gutman and getting Lennon back gives you those overlapping threats on the left and right. And if Brooks Lennon can be that guy picking out those crosses the way you expect. Look, I get it. DC did not defend worth a damn. The game was played on easy mode on that front, but you still have to execute the cross actually, and he was able to do that. And just you need more of that going forward.
Sejdic had the shot on net in the first half where David Ochoa had to go full extension in the 28th. It was the first shot in a 2-shot sequence where Ronald Cisneros got shoved in the back second time through as it was recycled. And Sejdic on the day went 70 minutes. had the one shot on target, had one shot blocked, one successful dribble, 27 of 31 passing, 87% on 43 touches, three ground duels won. He was 3 for 6, fouled once and had a pick, a tackle, and a dribble passed. So, once again with Amar Sejdic, you're seeing someone who has been picked up, put in service, and you're seeing what Amar Sejdic has been able to bring to the table. Let me get into Juanjo Purata's numbers before we get into other stuff. 6 clearances for Juanjo Purata yesterday, 2 picks, 2 tackles. He had 2 ground duels won, one an aerial. He had 63 touches, 82% passing from Juanjo Purata out of the back at 40 of 49. Had the one long ball and the one shot on target. So once again, the pickup of Juanjo Purata has really served Atlanta United well there at the back. And I know that everybody is discussing the defense at the back, and it's part and parcel to where you have these pieces that you initially wanted to have at 100% healthy. You had, say, in your back line yesterday of 5, you had Caleb Wiley, Andrew Gutman, Alan Franco, Juanjo Purata, Brooks Lennon. You haven't had Gutman and Lennon for the full season because of injuries and such, and you brought Purata in as basically someone is like, we need help, and you bring in Juanjo Purata, and you see what we've been able to get, if you're an Atlanta United fan, out of a guy like Juanjo Purata, who has been one of the great pickups this season across the board, I'll say in Major League Soccer, because of what he's been able to bring to the table. So a lot of folks having a lot of stuff to talk about this morning, and we'll get into all of it. And I guess that's an elongated version of the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, your QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. And they are available at Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Once again, here's our friends at kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget, use the code SoccerDownHere15, and you get 15% off of your purchase, and they take 10% of the proceeds and reinvest into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff with what Kickoff Coffee has been doing with all of their initiatives and such. So very, very cool stuff with our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Going through what a lot of folks have been saying. I'm trying to find comments. Yeah, let's go ahead and, Abby, we'll go ahead and talk about the other action that happened after Atlanta United and DC United. Abby's bummed Orlando scored to win on the last play of the game at 90+6. She is not.
Y'all can't trust New York City since Ronnie Dial left.
No.
I don't know how else to tell people. Don't trust New York City. They're not the same team since Ronnie Dial left. They're just here to disappoint you if you have faith in them.
Absolutely. And did you see how somebody apparently just looked like they turned on the water faucet, turned on the shower on high blast, like late first half after the first goal was scored by Orlando, and how completely and totally wackily, I guess, is that an adverb? How wackily unplayable it became at times there at Exploria?
Well, if I've learned anything from MLS, it's that they don't actually take into account safety of field conditions or players. So, the fact that you can play through it is no big deal to me at this point, because unless there's lightning over the stadium, it seems like they're never going to actually stop a game. So, here's what it is.
Ricky, according to Opta, with Atlanta United, the first time Atlanta United ever had 3-headed goals in a match.
Yeah, sounds right. I know they had 2 in a match against Orlando in 2017.
Yep.
In the game of the Benz, that 3-3 firestorm of a game where Kyle Larin and Dom Dwyer both scored for Orlando. And then Joseph had a hat trick in that game. But I think 1 he scored with his foot, and I think 2 he scored with his head. It was just a tennis match of chaos.
The Dundee United, Jarrett, for full disclosure, has not tweeted since the full-time full screen of the 9-0 loss. They have not said anything on social media.
Bam's right. They missed Tam. 10 quarters left, and that has not gone well for them.
Shiva, back to Atlanta United. Bam says we can skip the Austin game. I don't know if we can. We'll get into it just a little.
We are going to hit it, but we'll hit it quick for you, bud, because I understand you don't want to talk about it. Like, that was it was surprising. If that's okay, let's call it surprising.
Yeah. So we'll get into LAFC and Austin in a little more in depth coming up here in just a little bit. Shiva on Atlanta United won the game. Love the fight from the team. I just don't think our game right now can take us to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, you've put yourself in such a tight situation, and now you have games that you have to win that are going to be tough to win. Like, you're going to have to go try and get something in Philly, then try and go get something in Portland, then try and go get something against Philadelphia here. Like, it's tough.
Yeah.
The points you have thrown away, you were already in a tight spot. The points you threw away put you in an even tighter spot. Now, you got some help yesterday. Toronto beating Charlotte Charlotte's kind of on the way out of the table at this point.
Yeah, I think they are.
God bless them. Look, Charlotte, the Mint, Sarmenti gave you some really fun moments earlier this season. It's been a chaotic season for them. I look forward to seeing how Charlotte resets going into year 2, because I think, like any expansion team, there was a lot of learning that went on for them. How they rebound from that and what they do next year, I will be very interested in, because Toronto, is going to be continuing to rise up the table because they just have some world beaters that can do that for you. And they got to take it out on Charlotte, and it's kind of like with a whimper as opposed to a bang for Charlotte as you're kind of sliding down the table. And we talked about it before. Like, I've mentioned it, like the depth, the lack of depth from an expansion team, it eventually is just going to come back on you. And when you don't have people who can just brute force the game, and right now they don't. Swiderski has been that guy in a couple flashes, but not consistently. It's really hard to power through and get through the dog days of summer, especially when you play in the South and the weather like that, man. But I mean, you got a couple things going your way, like New England losing, so you had some decent luck. Like NYC not spitting the bit would have been amazing for you, but they're NYC now and they just spit the bit. It's what they do.
Yeah.
But you had a couple things go your way on the table. But yeah, the problem is you have such a slew of very tough games where you're not going to be favored, and rightly so.
Yeah.
That you are going to have to be in that situation again where you're watching the scoreboard, making sure that other people also have issues.
Yeah. Here's the way that it looks in the East after yesterday. Remember, Wednesday we're going to have the midweek whip around because you've got, I think, 11 matches on Wednesday. So this is midweek weekend. Philly's on top at 54. They're 5 points clear of CF Montreal, soon to be hopefully Impact. And Montreal has a match in hand. NYC has a match in hand as well on Philadelphia. They're at 45 points. But it has not been the same since Ronnie Dyla left and Tati Castellanos left. Red Bull's at 44. They've played 28 matches. Then you get into the hashtag gaggle from the remainder. Orlando's win last night gave them a little bit of distance. 27 matches played, 39 points, 11 wins. Remember, wins are the first tiebreaker decider here, and before they go into rock, paper, scissors further down the line. Now, the fun starts here. Miami, 36 points, 27 matches played, 10 wins. Columbus, 26 matches played, so they have a match in hand with the folks around them. Only 8 wins and 36 points. That's your playoff bar in the East right now. Cincinnati, 35 points below the playoff bar. Expect a FedEx envelope to arrive at Pat Noonan's office at some point early in the week after what he said. And we'll probably run those comments tomorrow just as a part and parcel of his weekend with Hell is Real. Cincinnati, 35 points, 27 matches played, 8 wins. A lot of folks have 8 wins here in the gaggle. New England with their loss, 34 points, 27 matches played, 8 wins. Toronto, 28 matches played. And that's something to keep an eye on, too. They only have 6 matches left, 33 points, 9 wins. Atlanta, 33 points, 8 wins, 27 matches played. Charlotte's at 32, and I think that they're regressing to the mean at 10 wins, 16 losses, and 2 draws. Then Chicago's at 30 points with 27 matches and 8 wins. And then DC, who has not won in their last 6, 17-4, heading to the wooden spoon at 22 points. That's the East right now. So now that that's the East, let's get into the West and what everybody was looking at with LAFC and Austin. Sorry, Bam, you can go earmuffs here for the next couple of minutes if you wish.
We'll make it quick.
Yeah,
there's not much to divulge. There's not much to dissect from that one, other than Austin just rolled LA. I mean, LA didn't look like they were up for it.
Yep. And you look at the players that are there, and I think, and it was a point that Nico Moreno and I were discussing back last Thursday and last week's Thursdays with Nico on his third cup of coffee, that it looks like at times LAFC this season has just basically said, hey, look what we can do. We can bring in guys. We can, send guys out. And it seems like it's changed just for the sake of change. It doesn't seem to be change for the sake of, improving things. And so you see a lot of the shiny shell game going on with LAFC, and then you have a clunker like they did with Austin.
Yeah, and a couple people were talking about it in the Twitch pitch. And look, we've had this conversation about LA in the past. The irony for me is, I thought they were past it. Like, go back to 2019. That team was just absolutely obliterating everybody. Then ran into Seattle in the Western Conference Final. And Seattle just, for lack of a better term, and Bam, I'd love your opinion on this. Felt like Seattle didn't show them any respect. Like, Seattle's like, cool, you set a points record? That's cool.
Yeah.
90 minutes. We don't give a damn about points for 90 minutes.
No.
And they just kind of strong-armed them a bit. And then they were clinical when they had to be with Raul Ruiz-Diaz.
No.
But it felt like you go into 2020 and then to 2021, it felt like going into 2021, I know they had injuries last year and that really hampered them. It felt like they had kind of gotten past that not having cojones part and that they were tougher.
No.
And then it just, it just kind of came back, I guess, this year. We're like, yeah, they're still really good, but when you punch them in the face, the reaction isn't as strong as it was in like late 2020, at least to me. But I'm not watching them every game. But you can still punch them in the face, and Austin's got a little bit of that in them now.
Mm-hmm. Alex Ring.
Yeah, Alex Ring's got that veteran swagger to it. You've got the presumptive MVP as well to get stuff done. It does feel like Austin is a team that can punch them in the face and just drag them into the muck, into basically like this is a medieval battle where both of our swords are gone and we're using helmets and chainmail at this point to finish this fight. And Austin is better suited to that. They just have more of that mindset of you're trapped in this room with me, not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and to Emilio's point, because Emilio brings up Minnesota as his pick. I actually owe Minnesota a mea culpa because I had Minnesota dead on arrival, and then when they gave Heath the extension, I laughed and wondered I did like a 10-minute diatribe on this show.
You did.
What the hell were you
doing? One.
And now Minnesota is sitting in third place in a really good position. Had to hang on against Houston. Yeah. There's parts of Minnesota that are still a little kind of unsure, but they're getting the job done. Mm-hmm. And I stand by my comments at the time because let's run it back. Minnesota goes to the Western Conference Final in 2020. Mm-hmm. They are 10 minutes away from going to MLS Cup against Seattle. Yeah. And they spit the bit in one of the most amazing choke jobs you've ever seen. That you can see the team is on. They are on the ropes, waiting for the bell. Adrian Heath sitting there with subs, does not make any. And Seattle scores 2 goals to punish them, and then he's making subs. Mm-hmm. And then they were the favorite coming into 2021. They were one of your favorites along with Columbus of hey, this is a team that you want to look at if you want an early bet for MLS Cup. And Minnesota barely squeaks into the playoffs in 2021. It just misfiring that engine like it's an old gremlin.
Yeesh.
And then 2022 is just kind of They're in the playoff picture, but they're not really driving anything home. They're kind of going as far as Reynoso will take them. Then they get that midseason down in the quagmire where they're just not getting anything done. They lose to the Murder Owls of Union Omaha at home.
Yeah.
Then you announce an extension for a manager that was 10 minutes away from MLS Cup and then hasn't been able to build on that. And then they started building on it.
Yep.
Well done, Minnesota. I still have issues with you about I don't know if y'all cursed the striker position or something. I think Christian Ramirez is on his way out of Aberdeen. Maybe give him a call.
Yeah.
And bring back your boy.
Mm-hmm.
But well done, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I thought you were just going to sink after the last year and a half. And after Adrian Heath got that extension announced at really the worst possible time to announce a contract extension.
Really?
It hasn't always been convincing. But as we just said with Atlanta, the best win you can have is a pretty win. The best result you can have is a pretty win. The second best result is an ugly win. And whether pretty or ugly, Minnesota's gotten 3 points across the line. Well done to them. They're going to be in good shape. Minnesota might be an interesting pick for the playoffs, especially if Reynoso catches fire again.
So here's your look at the West. LAFC 6 points clear of Austin right now. And Minnesota is 7 points back of Austin right now. So there's space between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, and they all have 7 matches to go. Dallas only has 5 matches remaining. They've played 29, the most of anybody in Major League Soccer. 43 points. So they're going to have to max out their points in their final 5 matches if they're going to have any hope of being the 3 and getting past Minnesota. Now the fun starts. Nashville, 28 matches played, 39 points. RSL, 27 matches played, 39 points. LAG, with the win where they had to hold on in New England, 11-11-4, 26 points. So 26 matches played, 37 points. Now, that's your playoffs. Right now, you've got 4 teams chasing that spot, number 7. Portland's at 8 with 36, 28 matches played. Same number of matches for Vancouver at 34. Seattle is, right now, 4 points out of a playoff spot. They played 27 matches. They're not going to have rolled on for, I think, the remainder of this season with surgery. 10-14-3. And they're at 33 points. Colorado's at 32 with 8 wins, 27 matches played. Then Kansas City, who has found their offense with their transfer window additions, they're at 29. San Jose's at 27. Houston right now at 26. So that's your West with all of the madness going on from basically 5 to what?
Low-key, the best race at the end of the season might be the wooden spoon with DC at 22 points and Houston at 26.
Yeah.
Low-key, and San Jose's flirting there at 27 points. Low-key, wooden spoon might be a fun race to watch at the end of the season, y'all.
Yeah, and see how many more yellow cards Wayne Rooney can get as we go for the remainder of the season. Turner with a question. Can we talk about Philly being what the media has told us LAFC is?
We can. John, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, you look at Philly. Now, Philly is just mauling people. But, at the same time, you're beating the people that you should beat. And it just so happens that you're thumping folks. And I know that a lot of folks are sitting there and thinking, that LAFC is the number one favorite to win everything. But Philadelphia, for whatever reason, tucked away in Chester, PA, stylistics, what have you, Philly is not getting the attention that others are getting. So you put 6 on the board beating.
Well, I mean, it's not always pretty.
No, and that's the thing. 6 over Colorado, 6 over DC. You lose 1-0 at Dallas. You put 4 on the board beating Chicago. Then you lose to Cincinnati 3-1 at TQL. So there is some, okay, which Philly are we getting? So when they're good, they're very good. But when they are frustrated, whether it's on the road in Dallas or on the road at TQL, then I think that's where Philadelphia can be had at the moment. I mean, think about this. Philadelphia, with that defense of theirs, with the very power forward looking back line. It's like you've got 6'10", 6'10", 6'11 back there. But Philadelphia has only allowed 20 goals this year. 20. Next in goals allowed, LAFC with 30. That is a 10-goal difference. LAFC has played one less match, but you have only allowed 20 goals this season. Philadelphia will frustrate the ever-loving daylights out of you.
Also, Andre Blake can absolutely still stand on his head.
No question about it. This is a defense that will frustrate the hell out of you. They will professional foul you to death. They will push the limits of the officiating. Let's sit there and it's like, what can we get away with? As you should, as any good team will. It's like, all right, what can we get away with when it comes to physicality? What can we get away with when it comes to fouling? They will distribute their foul numbers very, very well. When you think that someone has fouled right on the edge of a card, someone else will pick up the fouling and they'll get right up to the edge of a card. Very, very smart when it comes to their numbers and trying to figure out, okay, whose turn is it to foul somebody? They're very, very good at that rotation.
It feels like the equivalent of I once heard a college football writer describe what like prime Nick Saban LSU and prime Nick Saban Alabama teams were. Most teams would play to the whistle. Those teams would play a half second, like a split second past the whistle, through the whistle.
Yep.
Where they're going to finish the block. They're going to finish the hit. They're going to put it really close and get in your head with it, and it's going to hurt the entire time as you are playing against them. Nothing about playing against Philadelphia is enjoyable. Stylistically, a lot of times it's not fun to watch.
No.
I would invite all of you to go back and watch New York Red Bulls and Philadelphia in the playoffs last year. It was one of the most unwatchable games I have ever seen in my life. And everybody who covered this sport nationally basically got stuck between crying at how bad it was, being amazed at how bad it was, and wondering what the actual hell was happening.
Yeah. But
because it was horrendous, but
absolutely.
But it works for Philadelphia. And remember, they lose last year in the playoffs to New York City because Philadelphia. I don't say it's only because, but Philadelphia's missing. Rich is somewhere throwing things as I say this.
Probably.
Shooter's already throwing things.
Yes, he is.
Shooter's mad about Bruce and I understand.
Yes.
You came off a year where you were the best team. Best record or best season in MLS history, regular season in MLS history, and now this. But Philadelphia was missing half of their team going into that game, and New York City still barely squeaked it out.
Mm-hmm.
So Philadelphia's probably got a chip on their shoulder with that concept of it was last year should have been our year, but we had half the team out with COVID and barely got beat in the playoffs, and it could have been us taking down Portland instead.
Yep. And Philly definitely has the chip on their shoulder when it comes to this season, and they're going to win matches however they're going to win a match. However they can win a match, however they can do it, they're going to do it. And the 4-4-2 diamond it's like going up against a team that runs triple option or veer when you're used to going up against defenses. You come in there in college football with a 4-2-5, knowing that somebody's going to run spread, and that's the defense that you have. And then all of a sudden you're playing a service academy, and it turns into assignment football, and it's an entirely different animal. And you only have X number of days to figure out how you're going to have a match against a Philadelphia team. So, yeah, it is a different animal going up against the 4-4-2 diamond. It's what works for them. It has been what works for them. And, right now, Philly is that top team. Bam, I'm sorry. But when you see the erratic nature of LAFC right now, Philadelphia for me is number one. And then it would be LAFC and everybody else right now. I've got to go with Philly number one, LAFC number two. And I don't know why it is that the national media, Turner, back to your original point, isn't necessarily talking about Philly. Is it because it is just so difficult to watch? Probably. Is it because they're in Chester, Pennsylvania? Probably. So you have all of these mitigating factors that lead into it. Does Jim Curtin rub people the wrong way? Sometimes, probably. Does the way that they play rub folks the wrong way? Probably. And all of those different things where you have all of this heel energy coming out of Philadelphia lends itself to no one wanting to talk about it. You want the shiny toy. You want the glitzy object. You want to sit there and go, oh, look how pretty, as opposed to the grinding it out offense and the grinding it out defense and pushing your limits that you see from Philadelphia. I mean, I think it's like you look at the why, Jarrett, of why we don't talk about Philadelphia the same way we talk about LAFC, and it turns out to be choice D, all the above.
I mean, you have some guys that have been worth talking about that have gotten attention. Like Carranza has been very good coming from Miami, where he was kind of cast off as a bust. Miami, it's like, okay, we'll loan him out. We're going to be in a weird spot. He hasn't really fit. We can spare loaning him out and see what happens. Goes to Philadelphia and he finds his niche. Look, they're also in the vein of Red Bulls. It's a team that's built itself from the inside. They've built their academy up. They have a style. They know exactly what they want to do. They know exactly who they are and what they can do, and they just cycle people into that system over and over and over, and it's such an effective thing. Now, here is my question. Shooter, I don't know if you're allowed to answer this because I know you're salty right now, and that's okay.
Right.
I'll have to present this to Rich later. If Philadelphia cannot win in the playoffs again this year, now, hopefully they're able to stay healthy because I want to see them at full song in the playoffs, not half the team missing from COVID. Do we start talking about them like we talk about Red Bulls? Because Red Bulls, aside from one weird year, go back and look at it. They once played the MLS Cup. They played as the Western Conference representatives, technically. Go back and check that one out. It was wild, the playoff formatting. Old age MLS. You cut the tree of MLS open and look at the rings, you'll see some wild stuff that will not make sense.
True.
But they got one MLS Cup appearance and a lot of heartbreak in the playoffs. If Philadelphia cannot get to the Cup this year, do we start having that conversation? Because they are throwing together consistently great regular seasons and getting into the playoffs and the Cup, they have not been able to get over the hill. Last year was outside of their control, and it sucked. I don't blame them at all for being salty about that. If they're at full song this playoffs and they can't get it over there, we're going to have a conversation about some Red Bulls comparisons.
True. If
they are, however, to get it across there, we a step closer to Jim Curtin coaching to Europe, or how long does he stay there? I imagine the absolute schadenfreude from people watching Jim Curtin anger journalists in another country as opposed to angering the journalists in the United States. Well, what are they going to do? Go poach Pat Noonan from Cincinnati and make that rivalry even more violent?
Ooh, that'd be fun. But yes, we may be this much closer to Jim Curtin and international press incidents if the Union finish the drill this season and lift the trophy at the end of it all with the confetti cannons and the half of a Continental Tire behind them, celebrating what's going on. Magic Minion, welcome, and we'll be getting into your thoughts on Fulham after, say, the next 10 minutes or so. We'll be getting into all of that as well. And great that folks have already jumped in on the timeline. Welcome, Magic Minion. I think it's your first time here. So traditionally, this is what we do. We talk about Major League Soccer. Atlanta United is obviously our focus, considering that our headquarters is here in Atlanta at Soccer Down here. John here, Jarrett, there we go. Jarrett on that side of the glass over there. If I get my thumb to work, there we go. Jarrett's over there. And we're here Monday through Friday, starting off at 9:05, except on Fridays. We start a little earlier on Fridays because of guests and segments and things that we have to do. But we're here 9:05 every morning. So Magic Minion, welcome to the madness that is Soccer Down here. Also on the board before you go, let's see, everybody going back and forth with Bam about LAFC. So good conversations there this morning. And Nick's about LAFC, weird they made so many changes to a first-place team, to be honest. And like I said, Nick's, I think that has to do with a lot of times that, for me, you're looking at things because you can, and you sit there and go, hey, look what we can do. And then all of a sudden you get all these elements in-house, and we'll see if they end up winning in the end. Colonel comes in this morning. The match yesterday, appropriate for the bottom of the East. The match had an uncalled pass-back violation, a referee who ignored a foul called by his assistant, leading to a yellow card for a coach, and a U12 foul throw called on a professional.
You mean to tell me that Pro continued to screw the pooch? Well, knock me down with the bed. I'm going to have to go think about that one for a while.
Yeah.
Whew, I think that's where I depart.
Okay, so
that's yeah, guys, man. People can keep like jumping in, defending Pro all you want, man. It sucks right now, and it's one of those things. It hasn't been great, but now you're getting a lot of like decisions. It's one of those things where when you're noticing it, you see it more and more, and you're looking for it, and the bigger things are happening when you're paying attention to it. So it just makes it feel worse and worse. So,
yeah. All right. So, Jared, you off, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right, there he goes, Jarrett Smith. He's there for the first hour most days, and he'll be back at it tomorrow with us all, starting at 9:05. So I guess that means it's time for me to read a promo since Jarrett has departed. And it's to our friends over our left shoulder. For those of you watching on Twitch, Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH, for odor-free, clean, fresh air. One place you need to go, and it's Eliminize, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Eliminize Service has created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their facilities that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that these days. A very green way of going about things without any kind of toxic residue for their odor dispersal whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our other masking agents that we have either under the sink or in the cabinet, because when you pull that masking agent out from underneath the sink or out of the cabinet and you spray it in the air, it's a masking agent. Thus, they're just masking the odor. They're not attacking the issue like our friends at Eliminize do with their proven scientific formula, destroying odors all the way down to the molecule. Eliminize pricing very, very easy, one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. One place you need to go if you have any other questions, frequently asked or otherwise, is the website. And it is eliminize.com. But do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from, as you wish to have them attack your problems of odors. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. So what we will do for the remainder of the time is we'll go through the timeline here on the Twitch pitch. We'll go through all of the news that's fit to print. We'll look at your viewing habits for today and kind of take a peek at what happened on the weekend in some of the major leagues around the world. So Kefsi may have been lucky that Funtas decided to try to bulldoze Franco. Lost that bet. Not having Taxi Funtas to help out Wayne Rooney, but Kamara has his own set of problems that he brings to defenses, and you saw that on display. But yeah, not having Taxi Funtas definitely hurt DC United going forward in that match. But first and foremost, with Taxi Funtas, you want to make sure that he's okay. You don't want to rush him back with the head injury, and that to me is paramount. Head injury was getting looked at. I want to say Alan Franco's knee hit him in the head as the two were clattering together, and Franco was trying to avoid. But the contact with Franco to Funtas's head, you want to make sure that Taxi Funtas first and foremost passed the independent medical advisor. You want to make sure that Taxi Funtas is okay, and you don't want to rush him back. And you want to make sure that that everything for Taxi Funtas going forward is okay. And I know it was a big loss for DC, and we'll see what Wayne Rooney has with Taxi Funtas going forward with their next match. And we will we'll take a look at that. But biggest thing for me, just to make sure Taxi Funtas is okay, gets the examination that he needs, and that everything is cool. Let's see. Morning, Sean. And let's see. It's good to have everybody in. I know that South Georgia had made the trip up to the match yesterday. Saw the picture of South Georgia and the boss on social media. Glad that you have made it back, and that that you are back in South Georgia doing what it is that you do here on a Monday. Emilio, I had Orlando and Miami as best bets to fall out. Orlando may be safe, maybe with that 3 points that they picked up at the death, perhaps. And I think that we can beat NYCFC, meeting Atlanta United on decision day. Yeah, the way that NYC is playing right now, definitely. I think that NYC can be had on decision day. And I think that right now, obviously, every point matters. Every point. And I think that right now you're probably looking at 13, 14 points between now and the end. So we'll see what everything looks like with the schedules and the run-ins and all of that stuff. But remember, 3, 6, 9, 11 matches on Wednesday. One of them involves Atlanta United and Philadelphia Union, and you got to get points. However you get points, you got to get points. Get at least one, that's great. Turn it into Rocky 2, fight right-handed, and then when Mickey in the 15th says, "Now, kid, now," then you unleash the left. Something like that, perhaps. But I know that Rich Ransom will be with us for all the stuff leading up to that particular match. Bam, are Philly really that good? Yes, they have had big wins, but that was against D.C. twice, Houston, and Colorado. I think that, yes, they are, especially at home, Bam. And I think that, and once again, I went back in the timeline and I'm working my way forward. So if the point's already been addressed, I apologize. But yeah, they are, especially when you have Andre Blake between the sticks, and that is one of the top keepers in the league. And if you ain't scoring, then the best you can, the worst you can come out of it is with the draw. So, but when you got Andre Blake and that tall back line that they have in the 4-4-2, they are problems. But yeah, you lose on the road to both Cincinnati and Dallas. Those are the tapes that, frankly, I'm going to be looking at if I'm chasing after Philadelphia. It's like, okay, what happened there? And then what happened there? What examples can I take, and how can I apply them going forward? So that's what it's going to look like for me when I look at Philadelphia on the run-in. Let's see. Kevsey, Austin made sad face bench bail. Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, that was a bit of an unexpected result. But, once again, we've gotten into the thought plan of, if you out physical LAFC, you bump them off their pins, they've yet to figure out how to respond. And I think that's still the case. It just so happened it was a Q2 last time out. And the overly physical stuff that we saw from LAFC should have been more cards, and possibly, maybe even to the point of playing with 10, especially when you check somebody when they're off the playing surface and send them into the advertising boards. That to me should have been at the very least a card. Yeah, I mean, Emilio, the thing about the Loons that worries me is just their inconsistency on the road. I mean, if they're at Allianz, then I think they're okay. But, getting out of Allianz and trying to have to win on the road against a team that's a taller seed, I think that at Q2, you probably take the over without question if you end up having to go to Austin for one of those games. But, yeah, I mean, right now with the Loons, with what they've got up top with Fragapane, Amaria, Reynoso, and, if Dane St. Clair can keep it going between the sticks, definitely there's something there with Minnesota. And I, like Jarrett, I will put my hand to heart and go, yep, I had Minnesota firing Heath and all of the other naysaying stuff. I had it. I was right there with them. But they've turned it around. They found the offense, and they've gotten a lot of good work right now to be where they are in the standings. Bam, once again, look at all of the LAFC's big games. Final against Seattle, final against Tigres, cup game this year against Carson. Yep. Emilio, amazing LAFC has this issue when they have the backing of Pro, the league, and national TV. Sometimes, you could have all the backing in the world and still you aren't going to get to the end of the line. Will just would like to point out we'd be in 7th and above the line if the refs in Columbus were worth half a damn. And that is, like I think tomorrow I will, for those of you who missed it, I'll probably, now this is once again testing my technological prowess to bring in the sound from Pat Noonan after Hell is Real. And once again, it was an interesting discussion on national television where, coming out of that sound from Pat Noonan, the question was put to the fore, is this a problem? And I think it and I think the word used is this a systemic issue? I think it is a troubling issue. I don't know if it's systemic because you have officials on both ends of the officiating spectrum, if you want to call it that, where you have some that are very, very good. You have some that are more interested in promoting themselves and having themselves being a part of the issue as opposed to actually officiating the match in front of them. So when you have extremes, you're hoping for something in the middle. But right now in Major League Soccer, I think you have extremes that you're dealing with when it comes to officiating. You have some guys that you see on the international stage. You have some guys that really are more interested in officiating and seeing themselves in anything else. So I think that I don't think it's a systemic issue, but I think it is a problem that needs to be addressed. And I would like more transparency when it comes to addressing the issue in and of itself. Shooter, the Rev season's over, the worst franchise in sports. I think the good thing is that no one cares. Shooter, I think DC's worse than you. Let's see. Who else in any of the other sports? I think the Arizona Coyotes are worse than you in the National Hockey League. I think that the Chicago Blackhawks are worse than the New England Revolution. And I'm trying to scan the National Hockey League, but yeah, Arizona and Chicago, I think, are definitely worse than the New England Revolution. Bam says it should be relegation, not the wooden spoon. The only thing, Bam, is that you're talking about 26 years of a professional league versus something that's been in for a century. And so it's the structure isn't there. And I know that there are a lot of folks that would like to have some kind of promotion and relegation, but I think that Major League Soccer is a single entity right now. I think they're pretty solid. And I just, when you have teams, and I know that this was also something that was discussed in the timeline with everybody, but the idea of promoting teams from the USL. But once again, you're talking about different entities. It's not something where they're all linked to each other. It's not one single pyramid. The USL is over on one side of the championship in League One, and that's where I think that you're probably going to have your promotion and relegation is going to be with USL sooner rather than later. Probably in the next decade is that you will have teams in USL Championship and USL League One, and you'll have promotion relegation there. And I think that there are teams in USL Championship right now, frankly, that would be better served being in USL League One as opposed to playing in USL Championship and not performing well. And I think that it would serve their budgets. I think it would serve their rivalries. And I think it would serve themselves far better if they were in a position where they were performing there as opposed to any place else. So that's where I am with promotion relegation. Bam, just keep an eye on USL Championship and League One. It'll happen there first. Major League Soccer, until you get past 32 and head toward 40, that would be the only time I could see it in Major League Soccer. But right now, 32 seems to be the sweet spot for the league. If you get past 32, then you have to have a serious discussion about something involving promotion and relegation. I don't think they'll get there. They may stay at 32, maybe go to 34. But if you're going 32 on your way to 40, that's when you need to have your own discussion. Have your MLS 1, MLS 2, have your groups of 20, have your promotion relegation. But then in the current format, which teams of 21 through 30 whatever would be those that would be the ones that you would have in your MLS 2 that would be fighting for promotion. And they're not going to like it considering the money that they've invested in these projects. And that's why probably the other aspect of Major League Soccer, you probably won't have any kind of promotion relegation, at least in our lifetime. But yeah, you got to get to 40 if you're going to have any kind of promotion and relegation for Major League Soccer. Emilio, back to the match yesterday. His wife said, "Who's the chubby mountain man guy on the sidelines?" Told her it was Wayne Rooney, formerly an elite player, recently retired. True. Let's see. Emilio's finding Red Bulls okay to watch. Yeah, I mean, they're not the same Red Bulls because of the coach that's there in Struber. It's not the same Red Bulls that we've seen in previous iterations. It's like taking a club like we're seeing with Leeds, say, and you have Marcelo Bielsa Leeds, but then you have Jesse Marsch Leeds, which is the same, but it's a little different. It's taken the Bielsa construct and twisted it a little bit. And I think we're seeing that with Gerhard Struber and Red Bulls. And so that's why they're not the same Red Bullian Red Bulls that we're used to seeing. Also, let's see. Shooter, the Union's the lamest team name in sports besides the Orlando Magic. Yeah, well, I mean, Shooter, also the Orlando Magic, I think they were trying to make the Disney play early on, Magic Kingdom and all that kind of stuff. Utah Jazz might be another one with lamest team name in sports, because I don't know how much Jazz is actually in Utah. Made sense in New Orleans, but when they moved to Salt Lake City, it doesn't necessarily make all the most sense in the world. Same for the LA Lakers. It fit when they were in Minneapolis, and they were the Minneapolis Lakers, land of 10,000 lakes and so on. But Los Angeles Lakers, they're having drought problems, and they've got an ocean. They don't have lakes. So LA Lakers and Utah Jazz for me would be the other two there for Shooter. Just like I said, South Georgia, glad you got back home in one piece. Okay, Magic Minion. First off, welcome once again. Second time we're welcoming you this morning. Fulham fan here, Tim Ream and Jedi having their best season yet. I will post questions to you for the floor. And I will ask you if you think Fulham stays up this year. I think that with Mitrovic, there's a distinct possibility, because I think that there are teams that are worse, Bournemouth being one of them, considering what happened this past weekend, where Liverpool pulled a Celtic, or Celtic pulled a Liverpool, considering it was the match that happened after. Gave up 9 and tied the record for Ipswich and the 9-goal game that happened with them. So I think that Fulham has an opportunity to stay up. I think that Bournemouth is going to be one of the teams that goes down. I still have worries about Southampton. Ropes and Airborne DJ, I still have worries about Everton. I have worries now about Aston Villa. But I think that there are teams that are worse than Fulham, Magic, and I think that that's why I think Fulham stays up. I think so. I think that there are teams that are worse. So that's my statement right now. Good that Nick's, you're welcoming Magic Minion with conversation. That's very, very good. Alex T. MLS has been getting a ton of great top-class players this transfer window. They have, and it hasn't been just looking at it from, say, Europe, but South America, all of the South American talent that's coming in, all the other talent that's coming in from this hemisphere. Definitely has been stuff that has been working its way across with Major League Soccer and transfers, looking at it globally, not just looking at it as some teams are, as they're looking at bringing in 30-somethings and bringing them overseas, like we're seeing in Toronto and Los Angeles. You're looking at quality talent. Cucho Hernandez, another example of that with Columbus Crew. So, yes, Major League Soccer has been bringing in talent in this window. Bam, reason why nobody talks about Philadelphia, it's Philadelphia. Who wants to talk about that city? Bam, you're fitting right in with Shooter. I will tell you that. It's great to have you. Will, all right. MLS should throw away conferences, get to 32 teams, play everybody once, 3 teams twice, single table, top 12, 14, or 16 make the playoffs. This is the future. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how you could let that go. And, I know that, but then which 3 teams? Do you do the closest rivals, and then who are your closest rivals? Is it Orlando, Miami, Nashville if you're Atlanta? Or do you just play everybody once, have 31 games, and then have a 2-legged playoff structure? Because I look at it, you're going to have to schedule on a 2-year cycle where your homes and your aways even up. Then, but if you're going to do that, if you're going to get 32 teams, 1 conference, then for me, you've got to have 2-legged playoffs. That's the way I want 2 legs in a playoff. I really do. I think it's a better test than sitting there and figuring out something like Pablo Mastroeni did with Colorado last year. As you came in as the 7 seed and you make life difficult for folks. You make it painful. You find your chance. You get to penalties or whatever, and then you work your way through. So, Will, how about this as a codicil? 31, play everybody once. You don't have to worry about getting to 34, but you've got to have 2-legged playoffs. That's my suggestion to you in return. So Magic Minion going back and forth discussing Fulham with Knicks. Well done. Can anyone explain the non-back pass, Franco to Rocco? I was shocked he picked it up and then no call. So that's something that we'll put to the floor this morning. Colonel, in your opinion, if you're going to include Red Bull in the LAFC Union conversation, you also need to include Verde. True, with what we're seeing with Austin. I think you're right on. 4-card, it wasn't a pass back, it was deflected. So 4-card with the clarification. Bart, only thing I can think of is that neither the ref nor the AR could definitively see that it came directly from the foot of the defender to the goalkeeper. And Bart, once again, good to see you back in. And once again, on notice, Thursday at 9:30, if you can make it happen. So we can have our weekly officiating discussion about everything going on. So Bart, you've been suggested by me Thursday at 9:30. So that's do I feel old explaining team names, Emilio? Some mornings I feel older than others, but no, I just, when you're looking at box scores, you're sitting there going, Utah Jazz? What? Some mornings I feel older than I do in other mornings, but no, just, you look at the Lakers and the Jazz and you're like, wait a minute. So it's, for situations like that, it's an easy discussion. Let's see. Thank you, Alex T, for the followage. We're always good with that. KFC Rocco controlled the ball before picking it up. So the discussion with the back pass, no back pass. Okay, didn't think it was deliberate. Okay, so glad that you guys are having that conversation. Bam with our Ukrainian Premier League update. FC Alexandria copped a 91st minute equalizer, hit a 92nd minute winner over FC Minaj just now in the Prem as of about 13 minutes ago. So let's drift into our soccer over there and look at the Ukrainian Premier League. So Metalist Kharkiv and Inhulets 1-1 draw at 6 o'clock this morning, the local time, and then Alexandria at a minus 250. So they were down to FC Minaj, who was a plus 638. They scored too late to get the 2-1 win at a minus 250. Okay. Then next up will be this weekend with Ruk Lviv hosting Shakhtar Donetsk. Shakhtar is a minus 345. So they've got action on the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th this weekend as the Ukrainian Premier League continues to roll. And so once again, and Bam, thank you for the update on that. And I'm glad. Where are you watching it, by the way? Are you just looking at ticker tape or you watching the wires or Twitter or what? Because I might be interested in finding out from you how you're watching now that it's 12:13 in the morning. How are you watching? That's what I want to know. So, yeah, we will be giving Ukrainian Premier League updates because of everything that is going on there in the country and the fact that they are wanting to have the Ukrainian Premier League going forward. That it's for me, obviously, like I said, I've shown you my Shakhtar scarf in the past, and over in the corner you've got FC Metalist and a couple of others that are over there as well. But yes, I do have my own share of Ukrainian Premier League stuff here in the office. Emilio, every manager needs to speak up every time. Owners should pay the fines. Shame pro subito. They should, and that's why. That's why, Emilio, I think that we should speak up. I know that at times it probably gets a little tiring to continuing to have the discussions about pro and officiating and frustrating moments and things like that. But I think that it's incumbent upon us to have these discussions, because if we don't, it's akin to just accepting the situation that you're in. And I don't think it's acceptable. So I think that when we have these situations like the offside in Hell is Real, and you have the comments from Pat Noonan, once again, I think that he's going to be getting a FedEx envelope with a letter, and that the owners are going to have to pay a rather hefty fine. I think that we have to continue to talk about it. So it's just, if we don't, then it's accepted almost. So no, I think that we should, every single time something like this happens, I think we should talk about it. And I know that, like I said, sometimes I know it gets frustrating and I know it gets tiresome because it sounds like you're just, going over the same talking point and the same talking point and the same talking point. But yeah, when the point was brought up on national television about it being systemic, and the folks at the adult table there didn't think it was a systemic problem, I think it's a problem that needs to be addressed. So We've got to continue to talk about it. We've got to continue to, I'm not going to say harp on it, but we need to have it continue to be a part of the discussion. And I think that even though it may seem like we're talking into the ether at times about offering suggestions, I think that you never know who's listening, you never know who's watching, and you never know where a solution can come from. And I think that that's why I like to have this discourse as well, the honest back and forth that we have every day, so we can come up with solutions and continue to remind ourselves what we can do to make the game greater. So that's why I think that, yeah, owners should definitely pay the fines, and I think that, you got to make a stand. Ricky Ricardo, the Browns still stink, worse than the Revs. Okay. And then Ricky, MLS would only do relegation within itself once it gets big enough. Like I said, I think you've got to get to 40, and then you've got to have MLS 1 and 2. But once again, figuring out who starts off in that MLS 2, that's going to be the difficult part. Ricky, Wayne was looking real couch potato-y yesterday. Yeah, he's looking kind of comfortable. Most famous lake in the LA area is a dry lake that's an American military test facility. I did not know that. Well, I just remember El Toro, MCAS, because I was born close by to El Toro. Bam, 32 teams. Here's solution for MLS conference play. 32 year one play conference home and away. Top 8 goes to MLS 1. Bottom 8 goes down to MLS 2. Then every year 3 up and 3 down. Okay. Okay. Sometimes it's shown on YouTube, Soccer Online. Okay. We have to remember that. Pro gonna pro, nothing will change. Right. And that's when you, Michael, when you have a monopoly like we have right now, you have the one agency that is tied to Major League Soccer, and it's pro. You just hope the bad calls can equalize. You hope so, and that's the thing. But the thing is that when you have all of these bad calls, the bad calls are the ones that's almost like offensive linemen. We only focus on offensive linemen when they get a penalty called on them. And we seem to focus on officiating when you have the most egregious errors, and we should. We can sit there and like I said, we can nitpick and look at, well, this can be a judgment call and this can be a judgment call. But the most egregious stuff, I think, is where we have to take our base and go forward and look at everything when it comes to officiating to where we can hopefully make it better. Bart, look, there's a reason the referee yesterday was assigned the match between the 13th and 14th teams in the conference. True. And then, Bart, Emilio asking Bart, how does Dickerson still get prime games? He's curious. Let's see. Jason Nix, the only thing I will say about that hell is real non-offside call is that the screenshot I saw looked to be after the ball left his foot. Not sure how or where that screenshot came from. That's your 2 cents. Bam, back to watching other stuff that are in the obscure leagues around the world. With a lot of MLS games have to watch games. I've even openly told Larry Friedman that he's got to watch games in Australia. Okay, that's interesting. Emilio, from Bart to Emilio, MLS and pro seem to like him. Lots of factors decide assignments, and no ref will be perfect every match. True. Dickerson seems to just hate Atlanta. And the history is there with the incidents, Assad and Lennon in Columbus with Barco, what we saw against Thiago Almada, and then what we had in last time out. Okay. Secor, the only lake I've ever heard of is Rogers Dry Lake, which has the runways for Edwards. Okay. All right. So that's good to know. All right. So that catches us up on the Twitch pitch. So let's get into all of the news that's fit to print and where everything is looking. Wesley Fofana set for a Chelsea medical ahead of a 70 million pound move. So that looks like that one is that much closer to getting done. And we know, Nix, that Leicester needs the money. Manchester United close to an agreement with Newcastle over the signing of goalkeeper Martin Dubravka. Deal is for an initial loan with an option to buy. Could become an obligation to buy depending on appearances. Bruno Lage at Wolves is questioned when the transfer window should close after Willy Boly went AWOL. Now, remember, Boly is linked to Nottingham Forest. He failed to turn up for the draw with Newcastle despite being named in the squad. Bruno Lage insisted he has no issue with Boly, understands his desire to move, but expected him to remain professional. Wolves boss feels the window remaining open at the start of the season does not help. Quote, when we want to discuss contracts, we always want the best for us. These days, the big amount of money comes from TV, and the transfer window stays open until late. It's important to understand how long the transfer window can be. What is the time to end? Everything happens with agents and players, and it's hard to manage people. I just don't mean bully, but I think we need to think about this and what kind of rules we want to see so these kind of things don't happen. Maybe I'm dreaming, but we can think about what we can do different and protect these kind of things. Bully doesn't deserve that. He's a great professional, doesn't have any problems with me. So we'll keep an eye on Willie Bully. Ross Barkley's left Chelsea by mutual consent. Made 100 appearances for them after joining Everton in 2018, becoming a free agent. Thomas Tuchel says he'll be a happy coach after September 1st, no matter what happens in the rest of the transfer window. Fulham manager Marco Silva says the club planned to bring in reinforcement before the transfer window closes, so we'll keep an eye on that magic. Antonio Conte revealed he has told Director of Football Fabio Paratici and Chairman Daniel Levy his opinion about the final 2 days in the window, but the Spurs boss remains calm over the situation. I've spoken with the club, with Paratici and Daniel Levy, told them my opinion. Most important thing is they know that if we do something or not, it's okay. Reports have also suggested for Spurs, Harry Kane could be closing in on a new deal at Spurs, but speaking to the media ahead of the midweek match against West Ham, Antonio Conte remained tight-lipped. To be honest, I don't know. I think we're talking about an important player for Tottenham. Everyone's desires for him to stay here and sign a new contract. Could Neal Maupay make his Everton debut at Elland Road on Tuesday after he signed from Brighton on Friday for an undisclosed fee? Frank Lampard says we'll see where he is. Crystal Palace manager Patrick Vieira says they'll have to wait and see if Wilfried Zaha will be fit enough to play against Brentford tomorrow night. Wolves have agreed on a deal with Stuttgart for striker Sasha Kaladzic. He's thought to be worth €18 million plus add-ons. And they'll have a medical tomorrow. Vieira also has no Palace transfer expectations. And then they're asked whether there are reports linking Crystal Palace with a £27 million move for Conor Gallagher. Patrick Vieira added, "Are you sure? You're talking as if the $27 million is on the table." It's difficult to talk about players who are at other football clubs. Connor's a Chelsea player, and then he went on ahead and said all of the positive things about trying to improve the squad, but nothing about specifically Conor Gallagher. Also, Antony's expected to arrive in the UK to finalize the Manchester United move. Looked like it's in the neighborhood of €100 million, £85.4 million coming from Ajax to Manchester United. Has to be registered by midday on Wednesday to be available for the Premier League match at Leicester on Thursday. Unlikely he has to sort out visa and a work permit. United face Arsenal at Old Trafford on Sunday. Frank Lampard has warned that Chelsea target Anthony Gordon would see a different side to me if the winger refused to play for Everton. Fofana's been absent from Leicester. Willie Bully, we talked about him being AWOL from the Newcastle match. And Frank Lampard said Anthony couldn't do that with me. If he did try to sit out a game, he'd see a different side to me. No doubt about that, and I think he knows that. I'm not playing the hard one. It's just that it would be so alien from what I'd expect from him. I just know that's not him. So that's part of that. Aston Villa, having made a poor start to the season, pressure building on Steven Gerrard. There's obviously the magnifying glasses out at Villa Park. Fiorentina's Christian Kouame is under consideration as Brighton decide whether to sign another striker before the deadline. Sky reports another forward option may be brought in if Maupay departed, and he's headed to Everton. Sky in Italy are reporting Brighton are interested in an initial loan with an option to buy Kouame. Empoli are also interested in the 24-year-old who is an Ivory Coast international. Mentioned the advanced talks for Willie Bully with Nottingham Forest, so we'll keep an eye on that. It also looks like Forest has signed Renan Lodi earlier today, closing in on right back Serge Aurier. And if the next two arrive at the club, it takes their number of summer additions to 20. 9 figures to the left of the decimal. Nottingham Forest spending a lot of that TV money trying to bring folks in. Let's look at the morning papers and see what was going on with all of the activity there once again as we're getting kind of close to where things are standing, kind of getting there toward the end of the transfer window. So we get past all of the rumors, and here we go. So avoiding the 3 and the 4 letter paper. Here we go. All right. Avoiding the 4-letter paper. We're not going to discuss anything from there, or the 3-letter paper. Guardian, Steve Cooper, deeply unimpressed by Richarlison's juggling antics during Nottingham Forest's defeat by Tottenham. Quote, "I wouldn't want my players to do that, what Richarlison did. If that's accepted at Spurs, that's nothing to do with me, but it wouldn't be accepted here. And now, and once again, the Guardian mentions the decision on whether or not to add Serge Aurier. Telegraph. Rival managers have already been calling each other to talk about just how dangerous Erling Haaland is, fearful of the damage he can do, startled by his physical and technical attributes. By the way, this first step is ridiculous. Hoping to pick each other's brains to try to work out how to contain the new weapon at Pep Guardiola's disposal. Sunderland is set to appoint Tony Mowbray in the lower divisions as their new managers as they look to restore some stability after a fraught 36 hours on Wearside. Alex Neil heading to Stoke. Daily Star. Manchester United failed in their attempts to hijack Chelsea's move for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Stan Collymore over at TalkSport has called for Villa's CEO to go if Steven Gerrard is sacked this season. Evening Standard, Sergio Reguilon and Harry Winks poised to seal their exits from Tottenham, with Atletico Madrid and Sampdoria respectively set to net the duo on loan. Daily Mirror. Dortmund sporting director Sebastian Kell has confirmed the club have received no offers for Jude Bellingham this summer. Insists they'll fight to keep him in 2023. Liverpool considering a move for Sheffield United midfielder Sander Berge ahead of the deadline. And Conor Gallagher has apologized after angering Thomas Tuchel with his red card against Leicester City. Did you see this with Mario Balotelli, by the way? Balotelli provoked a furious reaction from his Adana Demirspor boss Vincenzo Montella as the two almost came to blows on the pitch after Saturday's Turkish Super League game. Videos out there on social media. Manchester United, the deal that will secure Antony caused internal conflict within the Dutch club. The Athletic, Brighton expect to be without Adam Lallana for the next 4 matches as he missed the 1-0 home win against Leeds. Daily Express, Liverpool have seen their hopes of landing Ruben Neves before Thursday's transfer deadline dashed after Bruno Lage at Wolves said he's 99%, in quotation marks, sure the Portuguese midfielder will stay at the Molineux this summer. Scottish newspapers, Hearts boss Robbie Nielsen wants 2 more players. Nottingham Forest winger Alex Mighton has been linked with a loan move to Hearts. And the price of seeing the Galacticos in Scotland, scalpers are now seeking more than £1,000 to watch Celtic take on Real Madrid. So that is the English. That's the English papers. And then see what's going on there. Yes, Barkley. We talked about that. Yes, Bart. Oh, some love to the old school drummers. I thought it was OL school. So OL apostrophe. Old school drummers and Morrow High Drumline. Definitely. So we need more of that. We need more of the drum line. We need more of the old school drum line. That's underlined, italicized, exclamated, boldface font, about 32 size. Need more of that for the remainder of the season. Also, Soccer for Good OG here to say that she's got a greater appreciation of Luis Araujo. Loved how he's aware of and tried to amp up the crowd. Love the drums and the trumpets. Oh, yes. Oakland A's, Miami Marlins. Well done. Good. Well done, OG. Those are definitely poor. And then the Gold Coast Suns from BAM. Also good stuff there as well. All right, let's take a peek at stuff to look at today as we are all looking at what is on the televisions. Let me get into this real quick. Soccer America from Agence France Presse in the overnight. Don't know if you heard this. French police have opened an investigation into claims by Paul Pogba. He's the victim of a multi-million euro blackmail plot by gangsters involving his brother. Source close to the case told AFP. Pogba's allegations came after his brother Matthias published a bizarre video online in 4 languages, French, Italian, English, Spanish, promising great revelations about the Juve star. A statement signed by his lawyers, his mother, Yeo Moriba, and current agent Rafaela Pimenta said the videos published on Saturday night are unfortunately no surprise. Quote, they're in addition to threats and extortion attempts by an organized gang against Paul Pogba. And this is just a statement. The competent bodies in Italy and France were informed a month ago, and there will be no further comments in relation to the ongoing investigation. Matthias Pogba, 32, promised great revelations about brother Paul Pogba and his agent Rafaela Pimenta, who took over as head of the company, of former agent Nino Raiola, who passed back in April. He said, quote, the whole world, this is Matthias, whole world as well as my brother's fans, and even more so the French team and Juve, my brother's teammates and his sponsors deserve to know certain things. Matthias plays in France's 4th tier, said people need to know what he knew in order to judge whether his brother, quote, deserves his place in the French team and the honor of playing in the World Cup. If he deserves to be a starter at Juve, all of this is likely to be explosive. And that was the conclusion of it. According to two sources close to Pogba's family contacted by AFP, large sums of money are being demanded from Pogba if he wants to avoid the dissemination of the allegedly compromising videos. France Info reported Pogba told investigators he'd been threatened by, quote, childhood friends and two hooded men armed with assault rifles, end quote. They're demanding 13 million euro from him for services provided. A source close to the matter confirmed the France Info reports. To AFP, Mbappe's name also came up in the affair. Pogba explained to investigators that his blackmailers want to discredit him by claiming he asked a marabout, a holy man, to cast a spell on the PSG and France star, which Pogba denies. Late Sunday, Matias, whose twin brother Florentine, remember Big Flo Pogba here in 19 and 20. So, Paul, you really wanted me to shut up, and this is from Matias. Paul, you really wanted me to shut up and lie and send me to prison. You left me in the hole while running away, and you want to play the innocent. When all is said, people will see that there is no bigger coward, bigger traitor, and bigger hypocrite than you on this earth. Expected to return to action later this month, so we'll keep an eye on the Pogba situation. And by the way, Ricky Puig with LA Galaxy, you better pick him up in fantasy now, just as a thought. All right, so here's your programming on the day. Doubleheader in the Turkish Super League from BN, 12:15 and 2:45. And it's also in BN in Espanol. ESPN Deportes has Cadiz and Athletic at 2. ESPN Plus, La Liga Santander, which includes Cadiz Athletic at 2, Valencia Atletico Madrid at 4, La Liga Smart Bank, second division, that's at 4 with Las Palmas and Andorra. A lot of college action. And on Paramount Plus, the Brazilian Brasileiro, Internacional and Juventude at 7, Corinthians and Bragantino are at 8:30. So let's take a peek at the action going on and run through juice boxes, let you know what else is going on tonight and if it's going to be as light a night as possible. Obviously, let's see. We got action in Eastern Europe, Scandinavia, the National League. We mentioned what's going on with Turkey, and that's going to be on BN. Superliga in Denmark. Lower divisions in a lot of the European countries. Working our way to the Primera Nacional, Amarante Brown, our friends there. They're going to play Sacachispas at 2 o'clock. And once again, Fanatis for all of your viewing habits there as well, fntz.co/soccer down here. If you have yet to invest in Fanatis, as Jason got me hooked. Also, once again, Eastern Europe, the La Liga action, South America Premier Division in Ireland. You have Sligo Rovers, Bohemians, and Shelburne. They are your home teams there. Como and Brescia in Serie B at 2:45. Brescia is a plus 142. Como is a plus 191. African Nations Championships is at 3 o'clock. Primera B in South America in Colombia is active throughout the afternoon. Atletico Madrid on the road at Valencia, by the way, is a plus 104. That one is at 4 o'clock. Liga de Ascenso in Costa Rica. Liga MX Femenil starts at 6 o'clock tonight. Keep an eye on that. Toluca is a big favorite at home against Atletico San Luis. MLS Next Pro, for those of you that watch that on the MLSsoccer.com website. OCB and FC Cincinnati 2 are at 7 o'clock. Primera Nacional in Argentina. Quilmes hosting Deportivo Morón. That one is at 7:35 at Nueva Chicago and Estudiantes Rio Cuarto. That one is at 8. And so your last match on the night after Ecuador, Brazil, Chile, and Colombia. Niza, in theory. 10 o'clock tonight, LA Force and Flower City Union. Obviously, the Force are a big favorite at home. So that is your quick rundown of everything that has been going on and is going on here in this particular part of the planet. Let's see. So it looks like the Tuesday will be normal, and then we'll keep an eye on power hours and such when it comes to Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see what's going on there. Might be a normal show Wednesday, normal show Tuesday, because we have a lot of midweek action. Midweek Whip Around will be with us on Wednesday. It'll be a power hour probably Thursday, and then a normal show on Friday with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring. So that'll start at 8:45 on Friday. And I think that's what we're going to do normally now, is start at 8:45 on your Friday mornings, because we want to get the weekend whip around done before our visit with Beyond Goals Mentoring and everything else that we can do to get everybody else squared away for the weekend. So once again, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us today, and enjoy your action today. We'll continue to talk about everything Major League Soccer going on tomorrow, and we'll get more into the league tomorrow and all the other topics that we had there as well. Once again, remember, before we go, friends from Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, Soccer Down Here 15 is your code to get your discounts on Kickoff Coffee, and you can once again see that they'll take 10% of their proceeds and roll them over into youth initiatives. Very cool stuff. So follow Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Bam, get your rest. We'll be back at it tomorrow. So once again, thanks to everybody who was part and parcel to the match yesterday. Got to talk about it today. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Everything else around Major League Soccer, everything else around the world of soccer, because that's what we do here. That's Soccer Down Here. So for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial, which means we do this.